This week, some big news with the Cleveland Browns, though. The Browns will host the 2021 NFL Draft. There was a bid with Cleveland and Canton back a couple of years ago. That is not the case. It is just Cleveland and the Browns. They get the 2021 Draft, so big news for the Browns and the Haslam family. Also on the field, organized team activities, Session 2 wrapped up, and really it was the first time that Browns fans got to hear from the coordinators. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken, a guy that interviewed for a couple of head coaches' jobs, is an offensive guru. The big question of Todd Monken is, how will he get along with Freddie Kitchens, and what will his role be as offensive coordinator of the Browns?
Well, first, he was a big reason why I wanted to come. You know, when I interviewed, not only Baker being here in the young roster, but I really felt like we meshed as offensive philosophy and then how we're both wired. So in terms of, we coach for the players. I mean, that's why we have a job for our players, and I think Freddie believes that. And I always want to coach for someone that recognizes we have a job for our players and putting the players first. So, and it's been good so far, and I don't anticipate that to be different. My job is to do whatever Freddie asks me. That's the job of any assistant coach. Is to everybody asks, what's your role? Your role is exactly what the head coach asks you to do. I don't care what role you have on this field. It can be from one of the managers to one of the equipment managers to one of the trainers to the coaches. Whatever the head coach asks you to do, you do.
My follow in that tack was in terms of voices in Mayfield's head. You guys, of course, nobody wants to have too many voices in somebody's ear. Is that something you talk through, or just kind of feel your way through giving him the right amount of input?
I think it's all the above. I think you've always got potentially a head coach, a coordinator, and a position coach that are going to be in his ear that will talk about some things. I try not to, I try to listen as much as anything. I think Ryan Lindley does a tremendous job in there. I'm in there every day with the quarterbacks, and I think he's on point. And so I only make comments when I feel necessary, and Freddie's in there at times. And so at this point, we're building what we want the offense to be, and we'll go from there.
Todd, word came out this morning, I guess the league is going to ban things like the Oklahoma drill, King of the Hill, and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that? How big of a deal is it? How many teams have you do that kind of stuff?
I don't know what they're banning, but those two drills I don't see much of anymore. You just don't see much of the, toughness drill, line up a guy in front of each other, and, so I really don't know. And again, most of the things that occur in this league, they've never asked me. So in the end, it's whatever it is that they do, then we coach it, and it's for everybody. So that's the best thing. Is it's not like our ownership group is saying, hey, you can't do Oklahoma drill. If we can't do it, then nobody can do it. It's the way it is.
How much of your thumbprint is on this offense, or will be on this offense?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, do I think all of our coaches on offense, their thumbprints on it? I mean, I would hope so. I would hope that all of our coaches feel free to have had input, and they have. There's been different pieces of what we've done that everybody has added from the start or as tweaked as we go along, and that's a good sign where you have a number of guys that can have input into what you do on a weekly basis. I think it builds a better staff when everybody has a piece of it, as opposed to, hey, here's what we're doing, and you lay it out for somebody. So that's what I liked about when I met Freddie.
With that, how much different will this offense look than the last 8 games last year?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say because we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're just installing, and we aren't really game planning yet. And in the end, that's really on Freddie, because in the end, everybody has ideas, but someone has to make the decision, right? I mean, there's a lot of idea guys. I'll be one of them. We have ideas of what we want to be able to run and what we like against a certain opponent, but then eventually the guy that calls it, or the head coach or the coordinator, has to make that decision. So at this point, it's hard to say. But obviously, I think what they did last year, and it's part of why I wanted to be a part of it. So,
Todd, is there something that's been maybe a pleasant surprise for you coming here?
Pleasant surprise. I don't know. Certainly not the weather. So outside of that, it wasn't that for sure. I don't think I have a pleasant surprise
I'm just
yet.
thinking maybe in terms of making adjustment to a new group.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the honeymoon stage. I mean, it's, it never gets any better than this, right? I mean, you take over a new program, you're the new person. I mean, everything's better, everything's great. Never gets better than the honeymoon stage. It's the same in Tampa. it was our fault in Tampa, so that's the honeymoon stage there. It's the way this business works.
What do you like about this job so far?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm employed. I mean, that Freddie thought enough of me to hire me, so that's a big part of it. I mean, you're out of work, wondering where the hell you're going to coach at. So, but there's a lot of things. There's a lot of positives moving forward. That's why I wanted to be here. It's hard to explain them all, and so now it's about doing it better than they do it and finding a way to win. So.
With Baker having so much experience in air raid and you having so much experience in air raid, is that something that you are really eager to incorporate into this offense, and do you see a big opportunity to use it?
Oh, the air raid uses very similar concepts that everybody uses. It's really kind of more of a philosophy of being simple and doing it better than they do it. And so that's a big part of it, repetition. So I think there is something to that, but I don't think that from an air raid philosophy standpoint, I mean, do I think he likes to go fast and play in the no huddle and be in shotgun? Yes. Do I like that? Yes. Will that transfer over? I don't. We're not there yet.
What are your early impressions of Nick?
Again, hard to say. I really like Nick. We brought Nick in for one of our 30 visits in Tampa. We really liked him there. So I think he's a powerful downhill back, one cut guy that you see on tape. But right now it's hard to evaluate Nick or appreciate Nick in shorts. He's one of those guys you got to appreciate in pads.
Is John Dorsey or anybody in the front office asked you about Joe McCarthy?
They've asked me about Gerald, yes.
What'd you say?
What'd you say? I'll keep that to myself. I think a lot of Gerald. Okay, I just said I'd keep it to myself, then I said something about Gerald. So I think a lot of Gerald. Gerald, has had a tremendous career and was an outstanding football player for us. And he's a great person. So I won't comment anything else about it. I know I can because he's a free agent and they've let him go. But other than that, there were some other things that we talked about but I like Gerald a lot.